Thank you, Arthur, and welcome everyone to session 7, I believe this is, 6, Reducing Environmental Footprint and Introduction of Best CSR Practices, Global and Local Practices. And I just wanted to congratulate Vladislav earlier for being the first person to say that openly that he's truly uncomfortable with the term sustainable mining, which is one of the reasons why we started to evolve the concept of the mine we want to see. And our first speaker, Chris Johnson here, also from ERM, is going to start now to talk about the sharing of benefits of mining investment, best practice approaches, the journey to the mine we want to see.
Thanks, Durant. And you'll see my the slide header. The presentation is slightly refined, but what I'm going to talk about is the mine we want to see, but I'm going to focus on driving social performance. Garant yesterday in the opening session that he moderated sort of touched on the theme and spoke how ERM envisages this and how we're beginning to think our way through sustainability and working towards the mine we want to see. Jane, later in the day in the disruptive technology session, I think touched on the water management implications of the mine we want to see. And Thomas, very evocatively, just in the first session this morning, talked about safety considerations. I'm going to drill a little bit deeper into the sort of the social performance aspects. Which button? Oh, this here. So what is the mine we want to see? And this I like. Those gears, the moving gears, the only fancy part of this presentation, so enjoy. The mine we want to see, what we see is it fully integrates sustainability into operations and culture. That's where the conversations across the mine life cycle, across the product life cycle, are focused on sustainability. And where everyone in the mine, from safety, from social performance, from mine planning, there's all fully into sustainability is fully integrated into the conversations they have on those subjects. What is the mine we want to see doing? What it is actively doing is building operational excellence. It's fostering holistic water management. It's driving social performance, on which I'll discuss more in a minute. It's engaging across the product life cycle, and it's managing closure from the start. We've talked about operational excellence. That's where you're harnessing technologies, you're harnessing your safety procedures, you're harnessing all that is best about mining and making sure that there's operational excellence throughout. Jane, as I mentioned, spoke about holistic water management and the important management of those risks, both for the business and for communities impacted by the mine. Engaging across the product life cycle. We've heard about the lithium. We can talk about cobalt and how mining companies and tech companies are beginning to think through how to work together to ensure stewardship of the product life cycle. And so we'll talk a bit about that too. And then managing closure from start. That's something I'll touch on. I'll give a sort of a case study about a social closure plan that we've been working on or worked on, and how that helped move forward, helped a community move forward beyond the life of mine. I'm going to touch now on a few trends that we're seeing, particularly in the social performance realm. All right, let's get my notes. The first of those is that there are, as we've heard countless times in the last days, and we know well, that there are growing stakeholder expectations. We call this the rise of resource localism. Resources are local. People are local. People have attachment to land. They have attachment to the space in which they reside. The longer they've lived there, the longer they've resided there, the more attached they are. Indigenous people are a good example of that. They have a particular attachment to the land, and that's why managing those impacts is so much more important with Indigenous people. So with resources local, people local, there's a growing expectation that local communities have a say in how a mine, and if not just a say, indeed a choice in if a mine proceeds. And so it's more incumbent upon us as practitioners and miners to be engaging with communities to ensure that their expectations are met and they are part of the process from planning through implementation. We've also seen an increased commitment to securing the social license to operate. It's a bit of a buzzword, but companies are more committed today than they were just 10 years ago, just 5 years ago, to securing their social license to operate. Budgets are increasing for this. There's an awareness of these issues across the board, and so there's an increased commitment there. There's a proliferation of guidelines and standards that we've heard about yesterday from the EBRD, from the IFC, the performance requirements of the EBRD, the performance standards of the IFC, the guidance notes to the performance standards that the IFC provide. There's a very good number of Canadian standards, which our ambassador introduced yesterday in the opening speech. There's the PDAC E3+, which are tools for explorationists to help them manage impacts, help them engage with communities. There's CORE, the Canadian Ombudsperson for Responsible Enterprise, which provides guidance and provides oversight of how Canadian enterprises engage, operate overseas. And there's MAC, the Mining Association of Canada's Towards Sustainable Mining initiatives, and those tools, again, which the ambassador introduced for us yesterday. There's also increased recognition that stakeholder risks are material risks. ERM conducted a study some years ago that identified 75 projects of billion-dollar capital investment each, or developments, and uncovered that about 42% of projects that were delayed because of stakeholder concerns. These have material risks. There's costs to the business when these delays take place, obviously. It's not just technical, it's these non-technical risks that are so important, 42%. This is sort of a vicious cycle. As projects are delayed, stakeholder concerns with a project are exacerbated. Because they're concerned because they can't, there's a delay. Why the delay? What does this mean to us? What happened to the messages that we were given last year? Why are we not proceeding today? So it's a significant risk to a project, and there's growing recognition of that. There's also been an emergence of multi-stakeholder initiatives. The ambassador mentioned the Devonshire Initiative, a Canadian initiative in Canada which brings together civil society and mining companies. Not an incompatible, but not necessarily the most compatible pairing of groups. But some of the larger and well-known mining companies, Barrick's a member, Hudbay's a member, Sherritt a member, a number of others are members of the Devonshire Initiative, as are international development NGOs, including WUSC, UNICEF Canada, World Vision Canada, and a number of others. They get together regularly, at least once a month, generally in Toronto, but elsewhere in Canada as required, to problem solve, to talk through issues, to try to come to solutions to problems, community engagement issues, development issues, that they can work together. There was a wariness on the NGOs' part at the outset, but they wanted to get engaged, and they felt, these NGOs anyway, felt there was opportunity. Better to be at the table than not at the table. And so it's been a very effective and frankly, a sort of a model collaboration. They've come up with a few particular initiatives that are worth citing, and the Beyond Zero Harm I have on the slide there, that shows that's a way of monitoring or assessing community well-being as a result of mining activities, to provide some rigor to that assessment. The Beyond Zero Harm framework has a group of core indicators that are modeled after the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and then they're project-specific or stakeholder selected or identified indicators that are collaboratively worked towards as an assessment takes place. A very important initiative. Quickly over the adoption of new approaches. Give Directly, for instance, is talking about cash, just basic income cash. This is really contrary to what a lot of us in the development world think of, but when it's in kind, it's certainly what the performance standards and requirements, in kind replacement of affected assets, etc. But they're showing that cash can be an effective way of managing or improving well-being. And it has worked. There's experiments going on now to really test it, prove it, 12-year long-term studies. We don't know if we're there yet, but anyway, it is a good example, I think, of the kind of creative thinking, outside-the-box thinking that is going on, that it is required to help drive social performance in this sector. And then there's new technologies. Again, Jane, she brought up the water risk tool. I'm going to bring up another social information management tool we've developed. It's not the only one on the market, of course. It's something we use internally. It helps us manage social data on the projects we're engaged in. It's sort of a sole repository of truth on the thing. So all social data is housed in a comprehensive information management system. It prevents data siloing, so we don't have engagement data here, resettlement or compensation data there, water management data. It's all brought together so that this sustainability, that everybody knows the data and owns the data. It provides risk management tools. As issues emerge, alerts can be sent to those who need to hear of them, management or whatever else. We also heard yesterday about UAVs. UAVs are also a big part now in the social sphere. They help with influx management planning. They certainly help with resettlement planning to capture a clear picture on a regular basis of how land use is evolving in a project. And they've now just outlined quickly a sort of a conceptual social performance framework. It's not the most profound, but it's something I just thought I'd flag before I get into a few quick case studies. Basically, we have 4 core components, and I'll go to the next slide. We have stakeholder engagement and risk and opportunity management, or identification. Those are the 2 core. We have 2 things to do here. We have to identify our social and environmental risks, and we have to manage them, and we have to build trust with our stakeholders. If we do that right, Bob's your uncle. If we don't do it right, all the challenges we've outlined hit the projects, and the delays occur, the cost overruns occur, et cetera, or the projects are held up altogether. You have feedback mechanisms that must be accessible. They have to provide an opportunity for stakeholders to provide their input into the project, into the way the project evolves and develops. And then you have a monitoring and reporting function. That's like lessons learned. That's a management tool. This is what we've done. It helps you identify the social outcomes, manage them, make changes as required, and move forward. Basic framework, I'm outlining it only because I want to tie it into some of the case studies I'm about to cite. So here's a final slide there. The social performance framework really helps derive or drive shared value between the project proponent and the communities impacted. A few case studies. This is one that I flagged for the ambassador's benefit before getting up to the podium. It's something we worked on in Senegal some years ago. The Canadian government and its partners, so Natural Resources Canada, Aboriginal Affairs Canada, and I may have the wrong name of that department today, it changes from time to time. The PDAC, the Prospector and Development Association of Canada, the Mining Association of Canada, and Aboriginal Metals Association, or Affairs Division, put together an exploration and mining guide for Aboriginal communities in Canada. It was developed to help build understanding of the mine life cycle, what mining means to them, how they can participate in it, what the technical implications are. Very effective tool. It was it was well received, and we thought, working in Senegal, this is something that could help because there was similar apprehension, similar concerns, similar misunderstanding about what mining is. And so we adapted that manual, Exploration and Mining Guide Senegal, and distributed it widely in Mongolia to help build, in Senegal, to help build understanding of mining in that country. I think, if I be so bold, that this is the kind of thing that could be very helpful in this region, in this country. There's a lot of concern. I spoke a couple of days ago at the Chamber of Commerce, and there was questions about can agriculture and mining coexist? Of course they can coexist, and we can provide examples of where they coexist in a manual like this. We can look at Germany, the coal mines in the breadbasket. We look at Canada, Saskatchewan, the potash mines adjacent to the wheat fields. We can look to South Africa. We can look elsewhere. It does exist. So we can tweak it, provide the kinds of concrete examples and explanations that could help build understanding in Macedonia and elsewhere in this region. This case study is about a project in Mexico, quite frankly. It's about changing expectations for a resettlement. I'm not going to speak to it. The approach is the same, but I want to speak to a project that's ongoing that we're working on now quickly about it. It's in Latin America. I can't tell you where, I can't tell you what. But the bottom line is we're dealing with a project where there is a fractured relationship between the community and the mine. The community has zero interest of engaging with the mine. There was a referendum, sounds familiar. They said no mining in this jurisdiction. A civil society group evolved from this opposition and is growing in scope and scale and strength. The mining proponent, the company, asked us, ERM, to come in and help build a relationship. What do? We can't engage. Where are we? And we're now working with them to slowly build trust. We're slowly identifying the opposition. We're slowly identifying those in the community who may want to speak, who may want to become the first interlocutors. We're forming a roundtable. The project proponent will finance this roundtable where regional development issues will be discussed. Mining will be on the table, but it's not an invitation to discuss mining. It's an invitation to discuss development issues, at which mining may be one key issue. It hasn't, it's early going, but it is an example of a project proponent, a company saying, look, we have too much at stake here. We want to develop this mine. There are opportunities, and let's find this, and let's build. Let's make the commitment in time, resources to build that relationship, and I have every hope that they will succeed. I think I'm running out of time. I had quickly another case study of, this is at Tarango back in Senegal. This is again just an example of building trust with communities, seeing mining as more than just a mine, an enclave, and this is the mine where local procurement issues, challenges, local employment issues. This is where we built a roundtable. Development issues were discussed, shared infrastructure, get all the players in the region working together to identify opportunities and to build a common vision of the way forward for this mine and other enterprises, other developments in the region, and this one particularly in Senegal. And finally, the social closure in Thompson. This is a Canadian example. Vale, a Brazilian company, came in. They were letting people go. There was concern that this town would go from a boom town to a bust. This was a mine community, so it was a mine town. And we, again, worked with them to identify opportunities to come or align on a shared vision for the community going forward, beyond mining. It's not a complete closure of the mine, but a significant downsizing of the mine, and it would have had significant impacts on the local economic base. We found a way to bring the groups together and work towards a vision to reduce those impacts and find new opportunities. Happy to answer any questions later on any of those case studies if interested. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chris. Our next speaker is Igor Bogdanov, Director of Sardish Mining Company, who are our very generous session sponsors. Thank you very much for that. Igor's going to talk about ecology and human health at the Kazandol mining complex.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear friends, let me introduce our project, Kazandol project. First mining project which start operation after 40 years here in the Macedonia. And my speech will be mainly practice, connected to the practice question, and real problem which arise on our way of the development of this project. A little story about our group. Our group, Copper Investment Company and Sardich Company, was created in 2014 here in Macedonia. Both Macedonian company, because our shareholders have intention to invest to Macedonia, to bring money to Macedonia and to pay taxes here in Macedonia. During these 4 years, our company obtained 3 concessions for Kazandol, Plaush and Petroshnica, make preliminary geological research in Plaush and Petroshnica, and full-scale research, geological research in the Kazandol, confirm reserves in accordance with Macedonian legislation, confirm reserves in Kazandol in accordance with JERC code, pass through all procedure to receiving all necessary permission, 100% permission received, start construction work, build mine, start extraction on the ore. Just now we already extract more than 400 tons of the copper ore with copper content 0.18%, and install this ore to the heap leaching area. Here we can see bird view to the Kazandol project. Here mine number 1, when we already start extraction of the ore. Here mine number 2, which we plan to extract ore. Here heap leaching area with 400 tons of the ore. Lakes and infrastructure for transportation of PLS, and construction plan. So on this moment, construction plant, SXEWE plant already construct for 90%, 100% equipment bring it, 70% equipment install it, and at the end of the March we plan to start production at the beginning of the June now. And in this case, if we will start product, we can invite you to see our copper cathode. Our plant plan to produce 4,000 copper cathode per year. It is not a huge amount, but quite significant for economic of Macedonia. During the development of the project, we already invest to the environmental question 2.5 million euro. We plan to invest each year more than 100,000, and we already have plan of the closure of the mine and estimation of the cost of this plan 1.2 million. Here you can see the benefits to the local community, to the budget of Macedonia, when our project will operate. It is not huge money, but it is significant money to compare with real situation. For example, in Valandova region, our payment to local budget will be around 10% to compare with existing budget. So this is how our SXEWE plan looks like on this moment. When we speak about economical, environmental friendly project, we have to pass through all process which will be in our project. I will start from leaching process. As you know, there is a natural leaching in the nature, and this process absolutely unmanageable. We can see when we come to the Kazandol and when we make zero monitoring of the underground water with high quality specialists from Macedonia, we can see everywhere the copper. So the process run. The process depends on the different condition, and nobody knows how it will be. It can be dangerous, it cannot be dangerous, but main condition, this process unmanageable. You can see here in the picture for Kazandul. A lot of place when we can see a result of the natural leaching. From other side, this natural leaching process can be very dangerous and create a problem for environmental. So a lot of company start to think how to solve this problem. For example, company SRL Medet in 2009 install a 6 EWV plant and start technological leaching only with one reason. They plan to manage leaching process, and they reach their task. And like benefits for this, they receive additional 1,000 tons of the copper cathode per year. Good job, good business, very safe for environmental and very profitable for the investor. Let me, especially for journalists, show you several interesting facts about leaching process, because when we discuss this question, when we hear from the many activists a lot of rumors, a lot of fake information about leaching process. So let me explain. I think specialists know about this. So pH of the solution with sulfuric acid, which we use in our process, 2.4, 2.8, to compare with Coca-Cola, for example, which have pH 2.83, to compare with vinegar, for example, which have 2.4. So we somewhere between vinegar and Coca-Cola. Second question, what about content of the cuprum SO4, so pregnant pregnant solution? So technological requirement which provided by Autotech, world leader on this technology, ask 1.5 gram per liter of this salt. For example, widely spread in Macedonia, special liquid Bordeaux mixture which use in the grape production in agriculture for struggle for different inspect, and this mixture have 2 times more content of cuprum SO4. And biggest question which all the time arise from side of the activists, that huge quantity of the sulfuric acid can accumulate in the earth. It is also not true because sulfuric acid immediately react with metals, and it's completely impossible. So, like result, I would like to say that managed leaching process, it is absolutely environmentally friendly process. Just now on this picture you can see me. I am on the Kitila mine in the Finland, and it shows how our company seriously checked the situation, the question concerning choice of the hydroinsulation material. We have a lot of experiment, we have a lot of modeling of the situation, and after this big job, we make a choice, company Atterfield from Spain, because their hydroinsulation material more acceptable for our ore. We prepare example of ore, 1,000 tons of ore, send to Spain, make full-scale experiment, and after that we say our hydroinsulation the best option for the Kazandul project. And like guarantee, we receive guarantee for the producer for all mine life of our project. So, like result, leaching process in Kazandul deposit, well organized, controlled, and environmentally safe. Next question concerning design. Just now on the picture, sorry, you can see concession area, exploitation area. It is a mountain region, and our designer do best job. They make use surface for natural barrier for the solution. So this well-designed and good choice for kinder insulation give us some proof that no any possibility that solution can go out completely controlled leaching area and no problem with transportation and leaching. So, like result, I would like to say technological scheme of Kazandol well designed, taking into account topography, taking into account choice of the material, and we in position to manage our leaching process with best practice. So second key question, plant, a 6 EWE plant. On the early stage of our project, we plan to use design of the local designer. It is quite good design, but our shareholders made a choice to pay more, to make project more expensive, but to use equipment, design, and all recommendation of the world leader in this area, company Autotech. So in this moment, all responsibility for proper working of this part of the project of the 6E EV plan on the shoulder of Autotech, and we sleep well in this condition. So generally about the 6 EWE technology, this technology very efficient, but main question, this technology distribution minimum amount of the waste, minimum amount of the emission. We use in our project the best technology, we used in our project the modern equipment, and also we think about seismic situation in this region. So we use such sort of the design. For example, if all reservoir, all tanks, all will be crushed and all liquid go out, no possible that this liquid go out from the area of the production building. Moreover, even we have not such recommendation, such requirement from side of Macedonian law, but in accordance with recommendation of Autotech, we design equipment with high level protection of the seismic activity, using experience of Autotech in the very high seismic zone like Chile. So, as a result, a 6 CV plan, economically effective and safe production technology, and nothing more. So, very important part of the project, different expertise, environmental expertise. We pass through all full-scale Macedonian expertise, and I would like to say that Macedonian experts have a very high level, European level. But our shareholders make solution and involve also international expert company Pori, which have a huge experience in this area, and we ask them to be very careful with our project and follow to all recommendation of the IFC standard, and it was done. So, short resume: Kazandol project fulfills not only requirement of Macedonian legislation, but also international and very strict European Union standard. On this moment, before start of the production, we prepare plan of the closure of the mine. Because, as you understand, before to come to the room, we have to completely understand how we go out from this room. Now we understand this completely. And in accordance with this plan, I have to say that situation on the exploitation area after finish of the work of the plant will be better than before. Like example, one clever guy from the village Miravci, which situated not so far from Kazandol, come to me and ask, excuse me, how much time you have land lease for this area? 20 years. How much lifetime for the mine? 15 years. Okay, could I ask you to conclude with me a contract for the leasing of the heap leaching area after finish of the mine? What is the reason? He said it will be completely prepared to grape. I think he is quite a clever guy. So on this moment we have completely finished closure plan and we satisfied it of the result. Just now I would like to say a little bit about problem. The main problem which previous speaker said, this problem concerning the social protest. But I have my own opinion concerning this. I disagree with Vice Prime Minister, Mr. Angushev, that he said that there is a conflict between mining project, between mining company and social population. I disagree with this. My experience said me that social population, very friendly or indifferent, attitude concerning mining project. The people which create a lot of nervous, a lot of protest, a lot of referendum, and so this practically small quantity of the people, this small group of very active, very aggressive, very well organized and, my opinion, very good motivated people. I saw this on our Kazandol project. I think the people which sit in this hall from mineral reservoirs also know this situation, because people which arrange protest in the Givgelia, same people will be in the Volandova, same people will be in the Strumitsa, and practically 20% of the local people involved to this process. 80% same people. 80% it is aggressive, very motivated people, and these people don't want to hear argument, don't want to come to discussion. Like example, I would like to say this discussion which hold here at Monday with participant of the ambassador of the Canada. To this discussion was invited all local community. Was invited all these activists from Sosvalando, Sosgisgelia. Nobody come. It is the same situation everywhere. They don't want to hear any arguments. But usual people, when we speak with them, when we bring to them real information, they understand and can support mining project. Because here in Macedonia there is a big shortage of the working place, and people understand that it is a way to the good future for this region. So, like result, during this 4 years of activity, Sardic and Kopian group passed through all legitimate procedure, receive all necessary permission. Our company does not ask any privilege, does not ask any support from side of the government. During these 2 years, last 2 years, I mean, when we start construction of the project, we pass through a lot of different inspection. Nobody, let me pay attention, nobody reflects some problem during construction period. No any remarks, no any question from sides of inspection. But on the end of the March, government made solution to unilateral terminate the contract. And what happened? On this moment, more than 200 people lost their work. In this moment, a lot of Macedonian companies have a problem with receiving of the money. They lost their plan. Municipality of Orlando from the beginning of June can receive money from our project, but just now no. Macedonian budget lost the money in the budget. For me, it is a very, very bad situation when young and very good educated people, engineers, which work in our project, just now plan to go outside of Macedonia because they have not find work here. It is a mining engineer. It is a mechanical engineer. It is the people which have to develop Macedonia and have to move Macedonia ahead. I think this is a main problem for Macedonia. My opinion, shareholders of the SARIC will find your interest. We can protect ourselves. We can receive concession back, or we can receive full-scale compensation in Macedonian court or in the international court. This situation is a big problem for Macedonian people, for Macedonian company, for Macedonia like country. And my opinion, I believe to the great future, European future in the Macedonia. I believe that during the way to the European Union, Macedonia have to solve all such sort of the problem, and I believe it will be done. I hope that yesterday government solved some of the political question and just now start to pay attention to economical. I think it will be, and I believe that Macedonia will be a great mining country. We have possibility for this. We have people which can move and move this question ahead, and I believe company SARIC will find good place in this movement. So, like result, very shortly, our project can be, and mining project can be economically very friendly with minimum effect to environmental. After mining job, we can live environmental in the better condition to compare with previous. And as I already said, I believe to great future of the Macedonia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Igor. I normally leave the bad cop announcements to Arthur, but if people could please make sure that you've turned off your mobile phones or they're on silent. It's very distracting for the presenters because the sound echoes straight up here. I'd like to next announce Zoran Desperov, who's Dean of the Faculty of Natural and Technical Sciences at the University of Goce Delchev, and I'm sure I will learn how to pronounce that correctly in a moment.
Почитувано председателство, почитувани делегати на MINEX Europe's форум, имам чест да ви ги презентирам промените во безбедноста при работа во македонските рудници во постприватизационниот период. Промените во безбедноста при работа се презентирани преку компаративна анализа на извршувањето на рударските операции во македонските рудници за временскиот период кога тие се наоѓаа во општествена собственост и периодот на нивната приватизација, односно од 2006 година до денес. Превземени се низа мерки и активности за подобрување на безбедноста при работа, кои резултираа со намалување на бројот на лесни, тешки и повреди со смртни последици. Рударството во Македонија е забележено уште од античко и римско време, зашто датираат метални алатки, стари монети, остатоци од стари топилници на руди, односно згури, како и стари подземни рударски објекти. Најголем подем во својот развој рударската индустрија во Македонија доживува за време на СФРЈ, кога се отворени голем број на рудници и изградени многу преработувачки капацитети, меѓу кои капацитети на оловно-цинковни, хромни, бакарни, железно-никелови руди, Во 70-те години од минатиот век се изградени и рудници за експлоатација на лигнити и термоцентрали за производство на електрична енергија. Во период од 2005 година па наому е започнат процесот на приватизација на општествениот капитал во рударските предпријатија преку доделување на концесии за експлоатација на металични и неметалични минерални суровини на странски инвеститори. Така да се приватизираат рудниците Бучим, Саса, Злетово, Тораница, Фени, Усие, мермерниот комбинат Прилеп и други. Во Македонија и пред приватизацијата на рудниците постоеше законска регулатива во која беа пропишени врските на тогашните организации на здружен труд во поглед на обезбедувањето на здрави и безбедни услови за работа на рударите. Овде се мисли на обезбедување на потребното количество на воздух за проветрување на работилиштата, пропишување на максимално дозволените концентрации на штетни гасови од дизел моторите и гасовите создадени при минирањето, како и максимално дозволените концентрации на цврсти честици во јанската атмосфера. Меѓутоа, и покрај пропишаните технички мерки на заштита, при изведувањето на рударските операции се случуваа голем број на лесни, тешки и повреди со смртни последици. Добар индикатор за нивото на безбедноста во рудниците е бројот на настанати лесни и тешки телесни повреди, како и бројот на повреди со смртни случаи. Тешките телесни повреди и смртни случаи во рудниците во Македонија се случувале постојано. Анализиран е периодот од 1992 до 2009 година и констатирано е дека бројот на тешки телесни повреди и смртни случаи изнесува 125, од кои 77 биле со последици на тешки повреди, а 48 се смртни случаи. Најголем број на повреди при работа се случувале во рудниците со подземна експлоатација. Бројот на повредите при работа во периодот од 2001 до 2006 година е видно намален заради неактивноста во тој период на рудниците со подземна експлоатација, тогаш се вршеше процесот на приватизација, а евидентираните повреди се однесуваат на повредите настанати на објектите со површинска експлоатација на минерални суровини. Најчести причини за несреќите во рудниците со подземна експлоатација се најдени одруни на карпестата и рудна маса, потоа активностите при одблокирањето на рудните сипки, транспорт на руда со јамски локомотиви и јамски камиони, активности при изведување на дупчичко-минерски работи, додека кај површинските копови за експлоатација на мермерни блокови најчести причини се од превратување на мермерни блокови при нивна финална обработка во комерцијални блокови, ракување со дијамантски жичени пили и паѓање од висина. Кај експлоатацијата на јаглените најчести се повредите при електромашинското одржување на технолошката опрема, посебно кај БТО системите. Причините за настанувањето на незгодите при работа биле резултат на недисциплина, непочитување на пропишаните мерки за безбедност при работа и упатствата за работа, неблаговремено и перманентно подградување на јамските простори, лошата проценка на стабилноста на јамските простори, работење во ризични услови на работно место со неблаговремено извршено осигурување на јамските простори и некоординираност помеѓу извршителите при извршувањето на работите. Ситуацијата е подобрена со донесувањето на законските обврски на концесионерите за експлоатација на минерални суровини. Според Законот за безбедност и здравје при работа и Законот за минерални суровини, концесионерот кој врши експлоатација на минерални суровини е должен да обезбеди мерки за безбедност и здравје при работа, особено со назначување на едно лице или повеќе стручни лица за безбедност, ангажирање на овластена здравствена установа за вршење на стручни задачи за здравје при работа, донесување на безбедностни мерки против пожар во опасност со посебни прописи, донесување мерки за прва помош и евакуација во случај на опасност, Понатомо обука на вработените за безбедно извршување на работата врз заснована на собствена програма. Обезбедување опрема за лична заштита за вработените и нејзина употреба, доколку преземените безбедносни мерки во работната средина не се доволни. Вршење повремени прегледи и испитување на работната средина и опремата, следење на здравствената состојба на вработените и одржување на средствата за работа во исправна состојба. Остварени се видни резултати во поглед на безбедноста при работа од страна на приватните концесионери. Приватните концесионери кои инвестираа во родниците во Македонија ги почитуваат и доследно применуваат законските обврски од аспект на безбедноста и здравје при работа. Редовно се вршат обуки на работниците за познавањето на прописите од безбедноста и проверка на нивните знаења. За реализирање на активностите и мерките за безбедност и здравје при работа се ангажираат странски, консултантски фирми, домашни фирми и институции. Комплетно имаме одредени подобрувања во поглед на извршување на рударските операции во самиот технолошки процес, преку воведување на современи технологии на изработка на хоризонтални и вертикални рударски простори со ангажирање на контрактори, комплетно ангажирање на концесионерите во поглед на подобрување на безбедноста при работа во рудниците, како со подземна, така и со површинска експлоатација на минерални суровини, доведе до намалување на бројот на повреди и смртни случаи во постприватизациониот период. Приказ на бројот на повреди настанати во македонските подземни рудници во периодот од 2011 до 2017 година е даден на графиконот, од кој може да се забележи рапидно намалување на бројот на повреди. На крај би сакал да изнесам еден заклучок од оваа презентација, значи рударството и покрај тоа што представува профитабилна дејност, истовремено и професија со висок ризик. Тоа се уште се смета за една од најризичните професии, но подобрувањето на технологиите, поригорозните безбедносни стандарди и законската регулатива рапидно го намалива бројот на загинати и повредени работници во рудниците последните години. Наспроти, севкупниот напредок кој е постигнат во подобрувањето на условите за работа и на работната средина, како и вложувањето на сите оние кои се одговорни за безбедноста на работа и професионалното здравје, работното место и понатаму останува сериозен ризик за здравјето на експонираните работници. Одовде, безбедноста и здравјето на работниците представува не само законска обврска, туку и суштинска потреба за подобрување на продуктивноста и економскиот прогрес на секоја земја. Благодарам.
Thank you very much. I'd like to now introduce Tamas Madaras, Associate Professor of the University of Miskolc.
Mr. Chairman, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I'm privileged to represent today here Horizon 2020 research project called Combined Heat, Power and Metal Extraction, CHPM 2030, and I'm also representing the University of Miskolc from Hungary, Faculty of Earth Science and Engineering. I'm not totally convinced that my presentation is in the right session, but I hope we can draw some conclusions at the end in relation to environmental footprint. The project is funded by the European Horizon 2020 scheme, and its full title is Combined Heat, Power and Metal Extraction from Ultra-Deep Ore Bodies. It's a relatively low TRL research project. I will just briefly touch on that in a minute. It's a project with a total budget of 4.2 million euros. The consortium includes two universities from Hungary, the University of Miskolc and the University of Szeged. the European Federation of Geologists. There is a geothermal engineering firm from Iceland, the British Geological Survey, the Swedish Geological Survey, the Romanian Geological Survey, and some other key players in the technology development is Vito from Belgium and the Catholic University of Leuven. The project targets to couple and give answer to two major challenges of the European Union. One is the demand for green energy. The other is the increasing demand for raw materials, specifically critical raw materials. And the technology development targets to couple these technologies, combining geothermal and the energy production and metal mining, metal leaching. We undertook to give a proof of concept in lab scale. The original concept is, what if we find an ultra-deep metal formation, an ore body, and establish an EGS, Enhanced Geothermal System, which is a geothermal system which is capable of electricity production. We create an enhanced fracture system within the ore body, and while we circulate the working fluid of the geothermal system, what if we can leach metals? And on the surface we precipitate metals, produce electricity, and also use the heat. It's an ambitious concept. Some say that it's almost science fiction, but I want to draw your attention to the role of a TRL4-5 project in the innovation chain. CHPM claims to be a disruptive innovation technology, which means, by definition, that disruptive technology is one that wants to displace an establishment technology and shaking up the industry with groundbreaking service or technology. So this is what we are talking about when we talk about the technology. Just a few words. EGS, Enhanced Geothermal System, is a technology that is proved to work, although it's still under development in certain ways, and not just under development, but also under attack for some of its technological elements, namely hydraulic fracturing. CHPM project, within its lifespan, wants to enhance this technology. By 2030, this is the 2030 in the acronym of the project, we promise a pilot operation and then the industrial scale operation. So this is the concept for those who are interested in the technology element. Let's assume that we find an ore body and we can connect the doublets, the geothermal doublets, the two wells with a fracture system, and we have a production well, which is one technology element. We have a high temperature and high pressure electrolytic metal recovery on the surface. We have a heat exchanger, which is necessary for electricity production. We have a low temperature and low pressure metal recovery with gas diffusion electroprecipitation, whatever it means. And then we have a salt gradient power production with reverse electrodialysis. It's a secondary electricity production. And then we have an injection well. So it's I wouldn't say it's a closed system, but it's a loop, which is where all the technology elements, some of the technology elements are tried and true, other elements are in lab development concept. If we focus on the ultra-deep ore body, we are talking about ultra-deep ore body. Probably the best expression is to use ore bodies at a depth where we can produce geothermal at a temperature of 120, 140 centigrade to be able to operate an EGS plant. So the main question and the concern is it true that we can improve the performance of an EGS system by leaching metals? It's an economic question. EGS technology has very high upfront investments. Deep drilling is needed, and it's also very risky in terms of returning the investment. But if we, in the same time, we can mine metals from the brines, that can improve the financial situation of the concept. So we need to increase the performance of EGS within the renewable energy sector. We want to create an all-body EGS and a CHPM plant. We must be able to locate ore bodies at a proper depth. Usually these are ore bodies that cannot be mined with conventional mining techniques. So the general answer, how certain types of ore bodies can be converted into suitable natural heat exchanger. We actually gave a definition what is an ore body EGS. It's a certain type of ore body with a depth of 4+ kilometers that is, after controlled stimulation, has the capacity to simultaneously yield heat and specific dissolved metals in such a way that the two technology elements together meet sustainability criteria, whatever it is. So one thing we have to consider is to create an effective heat exchanger with enhanced geothermal system. We need proper permeability, connectivity of the doublets. We need to think on residence time of the working fluid. We have to select the suitable geothermal fluid, if it's a fluid at all, that is able to convey heat. We promise in our project mild leaching. It's interesting, even in the project proposal, we have to consider, it's still a basic research project, we have to consider the environmental aspects, even in the level of nomenclature, how to use them. And we also have to consider the compatibility of other elements of the technology. We have to minimize environmental and technological risks. We keep in mind the vulnerable social perception of the EGS technology itself. One case, or one example, EGS usually relies on hydraulic fracturing. Even in our proposal, we began to use hydro-shearing, which sounds better than hydrofracturing. Now, within the research project, we already started to use a new laser technology, high-precision laser technology, together with the engineers of the University of Szeged, Zelux, a Hungarian company, and the University of Miskolc, to use laser technology, downhole laser technology, to induce fracture enhancement. Another critical issue is metal leaching. The metal leaching tests were conducted at the University of Szeged and Nottingham, at the premises of the British Geological Survey, where at various temperature and pressure levels and using various chemicals, mild leaching agents. Someone already mentioned Coca-Cola. They even tried Coca-Cola as a mild leaching agent to have a good social perception on the technology. I think they won't try again, not because it wouldn't work, but because it damaged their equipment. But they used EDTA, they used acetic acid and some other, and there are promising tests on metal leaching at various residence times and temperatures. Some other questions, compatibility issues. The individual technology elements were not originally designed for geothermal projects. The surface metal precipitation elements originally were designed to obtain metals from industrial waste streams. But this is a basic research, so let's see how these technology elements are compatible in the geothermal system. We have to recover metals with the same kinetics as the plant has to operate. So we have to think about temperature, we have to think about flow rates, and we have to think about dissolved metals. Usually the Geothermal Society, when they hear that we want to raise the dissolved metal content of the working fluid, they say we are crazy. They have enough problems with the dissolved content in the production well already. So then issues like energy balance, waste streams are to be considered, and we have to harmonize the elements while they are still under development. This is one focus, zooming into one technology element, the high temperature and pressure metal recovery, which is taking place in the labs of Catholic University of Leuven with the rotating disc electrode reactor. The electrochemical engineers work there on these equipments. If you are interested in that, we can consult on how you can reach more information on that. Another surface metal precipitating technology is the gas diffusion electroprecipitation, a new technology in lab scale development where they test an electrochemical cell where the cathode is an electrochemically activated carbon particle plate. We used so far artificial brines that were created from data from 3 test sites. Actually, we have pilot sites checked within the work packages of the project from the Iberian Pyrite Belt, from Cornwall, UK, from the Banatitic Magnetic Belt from Romania, and also from Sweden, a few case studies. So far, we used model brine compositions, artificial brines for the testing. And the last technology element is salt gradient power generation by reverse electrodialysis. It's a secondary power generation based on the concentration of salinity difference of the 2 water streams in the system. So all these are technology elements which we have to harmonize even in the early phase of the research as we are doing. So we created a virtual control room of the technology with the 7 technology elements. And we created a set of critical parameters which all technology elements have to consider whether they can be integrated in the system. In this figure, you, for example, see the temperature. On the x-axis, you can see the 7 technology elements and their temperature range in which they are operational at the present level of knowledge. So in the last step, you see for the injection wells, the optimal temperature is higher than in the previous step, which means that we should add energy to the system which we wouldn't want. So this is something to work on. But similarly, we can do all these analysis for all the other aspects of the critical parameters. A few words about environmental impacts. EGS is thought to be a green, renewable energy source, although it didn't gain such a strength in the last years as it should have gained, unluckily. And part of it is because of its social perception with the created microseismic events caused by hydrofracturing. Metal leaching has a worse reputation, I think, in terms of environmental impacts, which we consider. The factors that we consider in our research that we'll have to deal with: the thermal pollution on surface and underground, the surface impacts and disturbance, the generated solid waste, generated liquid wastes, well integrity failure related problems, microseismic activities, underground fluid loss, and also natural radioactivity that we bring up to the surface. I conclude with this slide of the consortium, what we took in Tokaj, in one of our wine cellars in northern East Hungary. Probably the take-home message, what I had to formulate because my presentation was in this session, it's very interesting to see how the environmental and social aspects have an effect on research, even in a base research phase. Many of you discussed how it impacts operation and planning. In our project, we see the constraints, how the possible environmental impacts will influence how we navigate our basic research steps in an early phase of a concept. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Last speaker for this session is Boce Ilioski, Business Development and Foreign Direct Investment Advisor to Macedonia 2025 and an expert in project finance and corporate development in the mining sector.
Thank you for the nice and kind introduction. I'm the last speaker before the lunch. I will be really consistent and short. Your Excellency, distinguished guest, my presentation will be based on the topic local procurement, transparency, evaluation and contribution for a local sustainable development, which is one of the most important topic for sustainable economic development of every country where the foreign direct investors are based. Based on the global trends, I would like to share some analysis that I prepared previously. So, most notably, the East Asian tigers, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan used local content and other interventionary strategy to proper decades of sustainable development of their economies. If we take an example for South Korea, they did so much support and stimulation of the local content of automotive industry. So the automotive manufacturers was really support from the government, and they invest a lot of from their capital investments for supporting the local contents and local procurement. So today, as results of this common work with the local company, the South Korea automotive industry is based on the rank top 5 industry in the world. On the same context, the Canada, Australia, and South Africa has introduced in the last decades really strong and supportive local development and procurement strategy. So these benefits of the local procurement exist across all industry and all sectors to some extent. But when it's come to the mining sector, the benefits have the potential to grow exponentially due to their share value of purchasing involved. One of the most interesting examples is support of the government in Australia, where they produce several grants for the local contents, and also they provide several benefits with the tariff examination for the local contents and setting the right policy on time with formulating the regulation. What are the global highlights on the local procurement? Public reporting on the local procurement receives less attention relative to other CSR issues. This is one of the most important topics now. So the local procurement is mentioned in CSR reporting by the most professional mining company. It's not so much involved in the junior mining company. Public reporting on local procurement is increasing day by day, and procurement of the goods and services usually has the single largest potential positive economic impact of the mining in the country to choose the host. That must be as well the case in Macedonia, because usually the potential is much more than taxes, salaries, and community investments combined together. Some big picture about Macedonia. Macedonian economy, 99.8% is based on the small and medium enterprise. Small and medium enterprise, a key driver of Macedonian economy. Only 0.2% are based on the capacity of the large company. Number of the person employed in the small and medium company is 73%, almost 74%, which is almost 7% larger than European standards. I see here huge potential for the local procurement and forcing the Macedonian small and medium enterprise and business to be key partner of the foreign direct investors, especially for the mining sector. If we take an example in 2008, before the world crisis, when we have a strong FDI campaign, these percentages of the number of persons employed by small and medium enterprise fast increased to 88%. That was a fantastic number. Let's analyze a Canadian example. Why a local procurement matters. The Canadian example is based on the 4 key pillars: capacity building, domestic business networking, collaborating with industrial clusters, formalizing of economy, increased revenue of supplying communities. What does mean increased revenue, increased employment? Mining has usually multiple effects, 4, 5, or 6. In comparison with the other industry, it's really, really important and really stimulated. Yesterday, on one of the presentations of one of the company, we saw that with direct employee of 500 people, the indirect employers are more than 2,000 employees and involved people. For part of the economy, increase the tax revenue, and the worker prospection is really nice and really powerful, because we will keep the most professional engineers, accountants, lawyers inside the country to work shoulder to shoulder with the most experienced professionals around the world. As well, the process and transfer of the skill is really important for building and brilliant communication between the Macedonian university and the companies, because 2 days in this conference we listen how the new modern technology can extract the ores from our mine. So this is exactly the catalyst of the new student who will be the next most professional engineers in the region. This is a slide about the procurement in the mining life cycle, the labor and activity level of employment. The peak is when we start to design and construct a mine. Usually it took 2 or 3 years. So how this process of the local procurement must be transparent. On this slide, this explains the whole process. So on the first early stage, we have a mineral resource assessment. So then we are starting with the core services, exploration and mineral resource assessment with drilling. Then the other services are construction materials, capital equipment, consumables and replacement parts, bulk services and infrastructure, non-core goods and services. The corporate services have great potential for increasing. They include environmental and social services. So the national company will have opportunity to work together with the world-class environmental social companies and develop their skills. There we have services on-site, on-core services, supply chain services, legal, regulatory, negotiation services, financial services, and consultant services. All of them are located locally. Evaluation is reporting. This is the most important part. Exactly, since 2013, the Mining Share Value Initiative for Engineers Without Borders Canada has undertaken work to measure how the biggest world-class mining company reports on the local procurement. The needs to increase the measurement and reporting in achieving increased local procurement was communicated with the mining share value by both companies and institutions that guide mining behaviors, that is IFC and EBRD. So here we have a brilliant collaboration with Deutsche Gestland for International Tsunami Arben, JB, Extractive and Development. And they actually, based on the number of successful initiatives to improve the impact of material extraction for host country and the communities that increased reporting, in 2015, the German Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development partnered with Canadian Mining Share Value, created standard reporting framework for local procurement in the mining industry, with main goal better economic linkages in local economies to improve the access to information. The main topic was better enable of the local actors, the local company, to enter the global value chain of investing corporation. Today, Organization for Economic and Cooperation and Development, they also did together with mining value engineers and assessment in Albania, Mongolia, and Mali, where are located other mines. So what was the conclusion of this 2 years analysis? Most of the mining companies start to create forums and bring together key factors that both impact of the local procurement. Different because it's different culture in different country. There was different activities from the government that promoting the local procurements. And finally, I would like to share messages for the host government and the mining companies. Exactly the goal of the local procurement reporting mechanism is to integrate local procurement reporting best practices into existing framework used by the mining industry, rather than create new secretariat or other body to collect all data. This is so simple process. How governments, industry, and civil society can work together, develop governance mechanism to ensure effective and transparent monitoring and evaluation, have trilateral communication, involve all the parties, involving relevant government bodies, extractive industry, and civil society. From the mining company, they can integrate the highest standard methodology and reporting procedures into their internal monitoring and evaluation system. So they can report the local procurement based on the quarter report or on their annual reports, provided reports in much detail and reasonably possible to be better measure and manage company activities. We listened several times that in the last 30-40 years there are no new mines open in Macedonia. So this industry is the new for the local company, especially in Macedonia. The mining company need to be transparent on the early stage to have meet the buyers events with the local business sector, to share the whole experience based on the healthcare, based on the safety standards, IOC standards. So Macedonian companies should be prepared on the early stage to participate on the construction of the mines. And as you see on economic parameters, 99% of Macedonian economy is based on the small and medium enterprise. I'm really sure that local procurement will have a huge impact of Macedonian GDP increasing. Thank you so much for your attention.